So my last two Missouri games have actually netted me 4 million credits. A pretty amazing amount of credits to get for just 2 games. These didn't happen back to back. These are definitely played on different days. I tend to play my Missouri around once every time I log in because it's such an amazing credit earner. I think it's safe to say that Wargaming has done a good job of giving the Missouri its credit income potential to the people who had the Missouri from before. While it was a bit of a messy way of making the Missouri available again by removing the credit potential of the ship and making it more normal for those who bought it, I guess last month or 2 months ago in August, September time. And then for those who had the ship originally, giving us that combat mission for 30% extra credits, which did not start out at 30% extra credits. But I think at this point it's safe to say that the Missouri is still the beast of credit earning. It is the ultimate premium ship if you're trying to just farm credits. For those of you that have the old one that has that combat mission. I wanted to show these games because I think it's really interesting how much you can do in a ship like this and get these credits. A lot of the times, the damage I'm looking to do out of a Missouri is percentage of health pool damage, right? I'm not looking to get these insane high damage number games. While they do happen, Missouri with its radar is capable of just owning an entire flank because radar just hard counters DDs that much. This ship really does give you that ability to take over a match as a Battleship player. And that's really cool. It's not something that hardly any Battleship gets. And I think that is really unique and interesting. It's just unfortunate it's on such a rare premium ship. But that adds to its credit potential as well compared to its other tier 9 counterparts. So if you're someone who picked up the Missouri in the last round where you could actually get it without the increased earning potential, I believe it is still going to earn more credits than your average tier 9 premium, just because it has this incredible tanky hull with a radar, right? You get that American 9.5 kilometer range radar that lasts pretty long, and of course, you're basically in Iowa with a slightly worse heel. So it's a very, very good ship, and because of that radar, you're dealing a lot of damage to lightly armored targets and low HP targets. Credits are determined a lot of the time based on your XP, and XP is based on the percentage of a ship's health pool that you do. Of course, getting kills gives you a base percentage of that health pool regardless of how much you did to them as well. So kills are important, as is finishing off low health targets and just doing damage to destroyers. So you'll often see me in this ship just trying to shoot DDs because that is the highest value damage if you're just trying to get credits. Most of the time I don't play exactly like this in my other ships. Not always is it the best decision to shoot a destroyer over a broadside cruiser, for example, or if the DD is at 15 kilometers. It's a low percentage shot, and going for something a little bit more consistent might help your team win later on in the game. But oftentimes, it is just better to shoot a DD most of the time. So that's a nice thing that this ship rewards you for. It rewards you for going after those destroyers, which is really nice. Missouri has, of course, some pretty incredible 406mm guns. At tier 9, that's not really a disadvantage at this point, since the majority of your counterparts have around that gun caliber and around the similar overmatch of 27mm. Tier 10, that's where I start to think 406 isn't really useful anymore. But at tier 9, it's pretty good, especially when you get into these tier 9 top tier games where you can bully some tier 7s a little bit. Although we'll see later on that tier 7 starts to bully me a little bit, which I wasn't a huge fan of. But shooting at broadside Pomerans is always a great way to rack up some serious damage. And you can see the aggressive position I was able to take in this game. And that's primarily down to the radar pushing the DDs away and allowing me to push in through sea. That's usually a very risky option for a battleship. It means you're liable to get YOLO'd and killed off very easily by a destroyer, or just by crossfire coming in from the flanks, right? The 10 line and maybe the 5-6 line in the spawn. You can get crossfired away through there. But in this game, the enemy team got pushed away, so I was able to take this really powerful position. You are looking to play in islands with this ship. I do tend to play around islands as much as I can. That allows me to stay in stealth and not be just farmed out very quickly, but it also allows me to get really close in and help contest these caps. You do want to make use of that really, really powerful radar. I wasted my last one. I was trying to see if I could find the enemy DD in the north, but our first 2 radars were incredibly impactful and really did help us win this sea flank sooner. And now we have the strong flank, right? Getting into these islands between B and C on this map is incredibly powerful because you get all the cover and the enemy team has to push across this open channel. Things like Anastasia are just going to nuke battleships as they cross this open channel, right? So getting these powerful positions is really, really important to consider which flank you want to be pushing and which flank you don't want to push. Of course, you shouldn't just, if you spawn A, come all the way over to the C flank, because then you'll just be useless. But if you spawn middle, you might consider helping out in between B, C more, and trying to get control of those islands, because that is a more advantageous position than some of the 8 islands around A. Already up to our 2nd kill now, and 143,000 damage. I was using the minimap there to aim and shoot at that Pommern. It's always a very useful thing that Wargaming has added for a while now, which is the little dot on the minimap. The mod I have gives me an X, but it does the same thing. The base game has a circle, and it works just the same. It's really useful for shooting over islands like that, which Missouri can somewhat struggle with because it doesn't have a spotter plane. Iowa, of course, gets that spotter plane still, so it gives you that top-down view a little bit easier, allowing you to shoot into smokes a little bit better, as well as over some of these islands. So there are some differences. The primary one is that heal. I think the heal is very useful on the Iowa compared to the somewhat weak heal on the Missouri. You'll notice in C, we're getting back capped by that Shiratsuyu, who's on essentially 0 HP at this point. I was really trying to catch him with my 3rd and final radar there previously, but didn't manage to do it. So now he's back capping, and we just have to push in, right? There's no point in just sitting in this channel waiting to get torpedoed out. And we have a massive advantage at this point, so we'll go in and kill the Pommern and be on our way to a pretty easy victory, I would say. We did a lot of work in this one, but they allowed us to get into some pretty powerful positions that we just took advantage of. So this is by no means an average Missouri game for me. I think with this ship, I think I'm only averaging around 108,000 damage. It's one of those ships that when I got it, I had a massive amount of good games. I think my first 50 games, I was up to 120, 130k damage. And then in the next 50 games, I managed to drop that damage down to like 108. So I had some really bad luck there for a while. So I don't know what was going on, but it really actually made me dislike the Missouri. And that's why you haven't seen me play it a lot on this channel up until recently, because I just really didn't like it from those 50 games that I just got absolutely annihilated way back. So I just had a bad vibe from the ship and decided not to play it very much. But I'm so poor on credits these days because of the achievements change with signal flags that I've just been having to play this ship. And to my pleasant surprise, it's a very good ship. I mean, I should have known it was a good ship because Iowa with radar, right? But my previous experience was a little bit rough, so I wasn't sure what to quite expect when I started to play this ship again. And, of course, a little bit of nervousness around the change to the economy on this ship. Maybe Wargaming not doing quite a good job at the initial combat mission that they gave us. This Shores has been lighting us on fire, and we finally do end up landing that Citadel on him. Shores somehow has like 19 or 20 kilometers of range at tier 8, or tier 7, sorry. Pretty insane amounts of range and HE power, but it's very weak hull. So if you can land that Citadel, and assuming you don't overpen the Citadel because it is such weak armor, you're going to get a great salvo into him. Mogami left on a sliver of HP. It's pretty simple cleanup for us. And that's going to do it. That is our 4th kill. High caliber Confederate. A really solid game here. And this one ended with our victory, of course. And not quite 2 million credits. Not quite. And I was a little disappointed. I wanted that 2 million. And, well, it took just another game to get there. And the reason I'm getting this many credits is because I'm stacking every economy flag and camo that I possibly can. It's a little hard to see in this clip, but I am using the Gamescom 2016 camo. I actually forget which year specifically it is, but it gives 50% extra credits, which is pretty insane. And I'm skipping ahead in this game. This was a pretty boring one where we just kind of ran them off the map into the corner. A lot of sniping in this one, not really that interesting, except for the ending here. I think this ending is quite interesting as we get the opportunity to help kill a Benson, and there's a Holland on our flank, and we're left alone versus a destroyer. Killing off that Benson, I believe, helped our credit income a ton. Finishing off a low health destroyer is huge for your credit potential. And your base XP, which is what credits and every other XP is based on. It's very, very good to do. And now we're left alone. So I'm waiting for my guns to reload. You'll notice I have HE loaded. And then I'm going to pop my radar. Most destroyers get greedy when it comes to a lone battleship, and they often do get caught within that 9.5 kilometer range radar. He's very deep within this radar, so he's not getting away. We're probably going to get 2 salvos into him. But you notice he was broadside initially. That means that he was probably torping us. We know Holland has an insanely fast reload on those torpedoes. And there they are. The greedy, narrow spread stacked on top of one another. Good thing I stopped, right? There is a bit of intuition and luck that comes with that, but if you can, try to vary your speed as well as your rudder shift with these things. So we get 2 hits, really good damage on that Holland, especially that first hit. The second one, not so much. We only landed 2 shells, but something you'll notice is that I don't always switch to HE when it comes to DDs. In this scenario, I did because he was close and he was broadside. But at longer ranges, when you get those plunging HE shells onto the deck armor or the deck of the destroyers, you're often going to hit modules and actually deal less damage than an overpen from AP would. So you have to consider what's more valuable, module damage or just that straight alpha that you would get out of the overpenning AP. And a lot of times, I just stick with the AP because I don't have to swap my shells and potentially miss a shot, and it just gives you that more consistent damage. It's kind of the unfortunate thing about them removing full pens from DDs is your damage output against destroyers, even if you switch to HE, has gone down dramatically. We do stop here. I'm trying to juke these torpedoes, sorry, not shells, but we're not really sure which way that Holland went. He could have kept running, or he could have gotten to the left and gotten on our flank, and he does widespread 1 set at us, so we got to remember that he does have another set in reserve here. So we get hit by 2. The damage is low, but we do get our engine knocked out. You'll notice I'm not damage conning this. This is very important because Holland has a very fast reload, and if he's staggering them and we use our damage control, well, we're just going to get flooded out. So we'll just be a sitting duck for a bit and try to angle into where we think the torpedoes are coming from as much as possible. But this is a rough spot to be in. We're going to get our radar in 20 seconds, though, so if we can survive 1 more torpedo salvo, we might just be able to kill this Holland, especially if we see the torpedoes coming from a little bit to our left. And they kind of are. Of course, American battleships have an incredibly long invulnerability time on their damage control, so it's pretty good to use it earlier on in when you know you're going to get hit by some torpedoes. Remove that flooding or broken engine, that kind of thing. Holland, again, stuck very deep inside our radar. He decides to open up with HE. And given Holland's fire rate, he should have gotten a fire here, but I actually get very lucky that he didn't. So some of the RNG that was a little rough in that first game as far as fire chance that I didn't really mention, but we got lit on first hit fires a lot last game. It kind of comes around to help us in this one. And our radar definitely is pretty powerful when dealing with solo DDs, but I think the primary use of the radar is like that first game where we managed to take control of a flank very early on and give our team a very big advantage going into the mid game. That's how I generally like to use the radar. But there we go, the big 2 million, and combined over 4 million credits from 2 matches. That is incredible. So as far as the Missouri upgrades go, we've got ourselves George Doe. That's given us that extra gun feeder ability, allowing us to swap a little bit easier. You'll also notice I'm running some AA upgrades. That's just to help me stay at those closer ranges to caps and at least survive a little bit longer without dying. Adrenaline Rush, an amazing skill that needs no explanation, I don't think, and Fire Prevention, Concealment, as well as Emergency Repair Expert. Pretty standard. If you've got a 14-point commander, I'd probably go with Concealment and Fire Prevention first. And the third point would probably be the Adrenaline Rush on your way to these 4-point skills. Tier 2 and Tier 1, you can kind of pick whatever you want to. These are just the ones that I like at this point. Now, onto the equipment. We are running the Surveillance Radar Upgrade Mod 1, as well as the Accuracy. We're trying to get the most out of our radar, and we're trying to get the best accuracy we possibly can out of the 2 salvos we get. 30-second reload, 42-second activation time on this radar. Gives us a little bit of time to get on target and fire our first salvo, and at least get 2 really good salvos in on whatever we're radaring. That's kind of the goal here. No reload mod. I don't believe I can quite get to a point where I can get 3 salvos out during one radar, so trying to get the most out of those 2 salvos. Everything else is pretty standard. Maybe running main battery mod 2 would be a little bit better, but I like those cross maps. And for the exterior, this is how we get our incredible credit income. And yep, that is a lot of special flags and a lot of economic flags, as well as we're running this Gamescom camo, which is Gamescom Black, that's what it's called. And yeah, 50% extra credits is pretty impressive. But there's a lot of credit ones here. You can see that, we can get 30% credits, 30% credits, that kind of thing. And a lot of these, 20% credits, that kind of thing. It's very common. There's quite a few of these camos that give you extra credits. Adding those onto the Missouri is a great way to farm extra credits. But as far as farming other currencies, you probably want to wait and hang on to a lot of this stuff until clan battles. That is the best way to farm a lot of free XP, credits, commander XP, all that good stuff, because you get 2,500 base XP on a win, and you want to maximize that base XP as much as you possibly can. I believe I've had games where a single win in clan battles has given me over 50,000 free XP. A single game. That's with every flag, every best camo I can possibly put on for free XP though. So it's pretty incredible what you can do in that game mode. I just haven't been playing it because of the rule set at this point. So putting it on the Missouri is a great way for me to farm credits in the meantime, especially because I'm so poor to not even 3 million credits right now. So I got to work my way back up, and that's why I've been playing the Missouri more. I hope you guys enjoyed. 4 million credits from 2 matches there. Pretty insane amounts of stuff there. And yeah, maybe give it a shot. Not necessarily on the Missouri. I know everybody doesn't have that, but on some of your higher tier ships you do really well in. You can stack these flags and get some pretty good bonuses out of them. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.